Now that I have gotten through all the garbage I saw in 2024, I finally get to reward myself with my top 5 favorite films of 2024. Coming up first at number 5 is Inside Out 2. The first Inside Out was one of Pixar's greatest achievements in animation, and its sequel is starting to rival it. Inside Out 2 is a wonderful continuation of Riley's journey through her adolescence, and the addition of more emotions in her mind further drive the conflict in the story in new creative ways. To see Riley trying to navigate through her new emotion of anxiety and how it can be a double-edged sword for her was a great touch, and if there ever will be an Inside Out 3, I can't wait to see what new challenges she'll have to go through next. The voice acting performances from everyone in the cast was stellar, and the animation was also greatly improved as well. This further proves that Pixar hasn't lost the mark. This film and its predecessor can be used as a great therapeutic tool for young kids on how to navigate through their adolescence, and learn that their emotions can be of good use sometimes. Overall, I loved Inside Out 2, and hopefully we don't have to wait another 9 years until 2033 for Inside Out 3. And coming up next, at number 4, is Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu. As of me recording this, I just saw this film a mere hours ago because I couldn't see it last week since it got delayed in my area. So I will admit it is a bit of recency bias on my part, but goddammit is it worth it. Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu is outstanding and by far the best horror film of 2024. The atmosphere, cinematography, and visuals are all masterfully composed, and there are so many frames and shots in this film that look like they could be hung on your wall as a painting. The performances from everyone in the cast is superb. Nicholas Hoult, Ralph Ineson, and Lily Rose Depp were all fantastic and very believable in their roles. Willem Dafoe especially was memorable as the weird but charming Professor Eberhard von Franz. I mean, this is Willem Dafoe we're talking about, folks. He's always worth watching in any film. But the one performance that really captivated me throughout was Bill Skarsgård's unrecognizable yet astonishing performance as the title character Nosferatu, or as he has been alternatively named in the film, Count Orlok. He gave a bone-chilling performance, and every time he appeared on screen, you truly felt his menacing presence. He perfectly captured Count Orlok's monstrous yet cunning nature masterfully. If you were to tell me that that was Bill Skarsgård underneath all that makeup, I would have never believed you, because that's how truly unrecognizable he was in this film. I really hope that the Oscars gives him a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Well, assuming that the Oscars gives a damn about horror films to begin with. What I also loved about this film is that Robert Eggers didn't just make a straight-up, shot-for-shot remake of the original Nosferatu film, unlike some horror remakes in the past. He instead just takes the concept of the original and just puts his own spin on it. That's how you do a remake properly. And this is what Hollywood should learn when remaking classics. Besides touching kids, of course. Overall, I absolutely loved Nosferatu, and so far, it is my favorite Robert Eggers film. Well done, good sir. And coming up next, at number 3, is Deadpool and Wolverine. I've already said my piece on this so many times on this channel, but I cannot emphasize enough how much I enjoyed this film. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have amazing chemistry and gave fantastic performances. The action scenes and visuals were tremendously great, and seeing the addition of Gambit, Elektra, Blade, and Laura was a great callback to the Fox Marvel days, especially Channing Tatum as Gambit. I hope to God he returns in Avengers Secret Wars. This film was a great goodbye note to the Fox Marvel era, and even managed to make great callbacks without angering the audience. The fact that this film opens with Deadpool literally desecrating Logan's grave and it didn't piss me off was honestly astounding. Overall, Deadpool and Wolverine was my favorite comic book film of the year, and I hope that 2025 will be just as great of a year for Marvel. And coming up next, at number 2, is Alex Garland's Civil War. Alex Garland really proved that he still had it in him after the disaster that was 2022's Men. And yes, I hated that film. Civil War, on the other hand, completely blew me away. It brutally captures the realities of war, especially one happening at your own home, perfectly through the eyes of the main characters. Kirsten Dunst and Kaylee Spaney both gave astonishing performances that you truly bought the horrors that they had to endure through this civil conflict. They perfectly portrayed journalists who are not taking any sides and just want to capture the reality of this conflict. The President of the United States in this film, played by Nick Offerman, was a great villain. While the film never explicitly says it, but it does heavily imply that the president is a dictator, by revealing that he is well into his 4th term in office, even though the US Constitution only allows 2 terms, and he also disbanded the FBI and uses questionable military tactics to take down insurgents, such as causing so many civilian casualties. To see this film really show us the different perspectives from all sides was a nice touch too, and how all of America's civilians are reacting to this conflict. The scene with Jesse Plemons' character alone was terrifying, and you could probably hear a pin drop in the theater by how much fear and anxiety that scene generated alone. Overall, Civil War was a phenomenal film that proved that A24 can generate a big set-piece spectacle such as this. Bravo, Alex Garland, you really proved yourself with this one. Before I get into my number 1 pick, here are a few honorable mentions that I want to get out of the way. Boy Kills World, a great R-rated action thrill ride that proved that Bill Skarsgård can be a great action star. The First Omen. Despite some continuity errors, I thought it was a great prequel to The Omen and captured the supernatural horror aspects of the original very well. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. A great entry and a starting point to a new trilogy for the Planet of the Apes franchise. The Substance, a superb body horror film that is a great commentary on the body image and imposed societal expectations of how we view our own image. Immaculate. Sydney Sweeney once again proves with this film why she is a great modern scream queen. Sonic the Hedgehog 3. A 3rd film in the series that surpasses the previous 2 films? That's not something you hear every day. And my number 1 favorite film of the year 2024 is Dune Part 2. Denis Villeneuve is my favorite modern director currently working today. He has yet to make a film that has underwhelmed me. This, its predecessor, and Blade Runner 2049 further prove why he is one of the kings of the sci-fi film genre. The performances from all the cast were phenomenal. Seeing Paul Atreides' journey of trying to avoid but ultimately fulfilling the prophecy he is destined to fulfill was great. The scene where he rides the sandworm for the first time was just incredible. Austin Butler's performance as Fade Rotha was bone-chilling. He really proved with his performance here that he could play a terrifying villain. Every time he came on screen, you truly knew that Paul has met his match. The set designs and visuals were absolutely phenomenal to see and gave you an insight to the cultures and practices of the world of Dune. The soundtrack especially was great and was masterfully composed. The entire 3rd act of the film was amazing, and when Fade Rotha and Paul locked blades, you really did feel the hits and grunts that they made. Seeing Paul finally seizing the throne and becoming a borderline villain by the end was a stunning end to his character arc. The film does what every second entry in a trilogy is supposed to do. Up the stakes even more and get you hyped for the finale. You have no idea how much I can't wait for Part 3. Overall, Dune Part 2 was a masterpiece and is right up there with some of the greatest science fiction sequels ever made. Well done, Denis. God really gave you the gift of making gold. Well, that was my list of my favorite films of 2024. Tell me what yours were in the comment section below. As always, I am just some geeky guy, signing off. Peace.